So much of the Senate battlefield this year is playing out on deep red turf, Trump country. Not true in the state of Florida. This is purple America, a real battleground state, and you have two titans on the ballot. Democratic Senator Bill Nelson, seeking re-election, facing off against Republican incumbent Governor Rick Scott, who's at the end of his 8 years as governor and seeking to represent Florida in Washington.
He's leading hurricane recovery, directing relief efforts, and even housing state troopers in his own home.
Despite the rave reviews that Rick Scott has gotten for his handling of Hurricane Michael and its aftermath, CNN's most recent poll still shows Bill Nelson with a significant edge in the race.
Elections have consequences, and there's a lot at stake in this election.
Arizona is home to one of the three contests this cycle where Democrats are on offense, trying to steal a Republican seat in their effort to win the majority. Kristen Sinema, Democratic House member, versus Martha McSally, Republican House member. Battle of two female candidates. Whoever wins is going to be Arizona's first female United States Senator.
Like our president, I'm tired of PC politicians and their BS excuses.
McSally had a very tough primary this season and had to run far to the right, embracing the president in a state that has been more and more a battleground in American politics.
Vote for Martha McSally. It'll be one of the best votes you've ever cast.
We need to treat these next 10 weeks like a sprint.
Sinema has been facing a heap of stories looking into the days back when she was an anti-war progressive. One recent poll shows Sinema up, another shows McSally up. This race is going to remain a toss-up all the way through to the end. The fact that Tennessee is rated a toss-up this year is astonishing in and of itself, and it is one of three Republican seats that the Democrats are really targeting to try to win the majority in the United States Senate. Wasn't supposed to be a contest. Bob Corker retired.
Hey, Phil Bredesen, how are you?
Democrats scored the biggest, best recruiting effort they had. The former Democratic governor, who is still quite popular in Tennessee despite its red tilt. He's running against House Republican Marsha Blackburn. She has the huge support of President Donald Trump, who has been to the state multiple times to campaign for her.
A vote for Marsha is really a vote for me and everything that we stand for.
He won it big in 2016, and he is looking to be responsible for keeping it in the Republican column in 2018.
Oh, folks, I love you. I'll tell you what.
Just to note how tricky it is for a Democrat running in Trump country like this, Phil Bredesen is on the air with an ad explaining,
If President Trump proposes something good for Tennessee, I'll be with him.
Tennessee may be the biggest surprise race on the map anywhere this year. Missouri is home to one of those contests where a Democrat is up for re-election in a state that Donald Trump won by double digits in 2016. Senator Claire McCaskill is seeking her third term to the United States Senate. Her opponent, Attorney General Josh Hawley, the Republican, is trying to paint her as out of touch with Missouri values.
Now we've got a big choice in this election between the heartland middle-class way of life and the radical left-wing agenda of the D.C. liberals.
Sometimes I agree with the president. That means sometimes I disagree with the president. That means sometimes I agree with my own party, and other times I disagree with my party.
Hawley has put the battle over Supreme Court justices at the center of his campaign. It's how he launched it, and he has been riding the Brett Kavanaugh wave ever since he was confirmed to the Supreme Court. The polls in this race have been razor thin. This is a dead heat race. It has been all year long. It will remain so. If Democrats lose this seat, it's almost impossible for them to win a majority. Indiana, another one of those states where Donald Trump won by double digits in 2016 and a Democrat is up for re-election. That Democrat is Joe Donnelly. He's seeking his second term in the United States Senate, and he's up against Republican businessman outsider Mike Braun. The White House and the Republican establishment is all in for Braun.
So give me some reinforcements, please, okay?
And Donnelly is in that position of Democrats in Trump country that have to dance a little bit to not offend some Trump voters they need to win.
I split with my own party to support funding for Trump's border wall.
Joe Biden made that abundantly clear when he was campaigning in the state for him.
I told him I would do anything at all in his race. I'd come and campaign for him or against him, whichever would help the most.
If the Democrats lose Indiana, it is almost impossible for them to win the majority in the United States Senate. Nevada is one of 3 states where Democrats are truly on offense, trying to win a state currently held by a Republican. Dean Heller is the incumbent Republican senator. He is the only Republican up for re-election in a state Hillary Clinton won in 2016, and he is definitely, therefore, the most endangered incumbent Republican senator of the cycle. Jackie Rosen, the Democratic Congresswoman, is putting health care front and center in this race.
You all ready to turn Nevada blue and show them what we showed them in 2016?
Dean Heller was initially opposed to repealing Obamacare before he voted for it.
Mr. Heller.
That mixed messaging caused him problems with the president, as the president was trying to get him on board with repeal.
Look, he wants to remain a senator, doesn't he? Okay.
When he finally got there, President Trump decided he was all in for Heller and has been out in Nevada campaigning for him. This race has been unbelievably tight in the polls. It's a key presidential battleground state as well. This is going to remain tight all the way through to Election Day. The most endangered incumbent senator anywhere in America, Heidi Heitkamp, Democrat of North Dakota. She is seeking a second term to the United States Senate, and she has a massive uphill climb. She's running against Republican Congressman Kevin Cramer, who is trying to tie her to the National Democratic Party, highlight her 2016 support for Hillary Clinton.
We're supporting Hillary Clinton because she is going to be one of the greatest presidents of the United States of America that we have ever seen.
In addition to the very tough political terrain, Heitkamp has had a rough final month here in the campaign. She voted against Brett Kavanaugh for the Supreme Court, even though a majority of North Dakotans wanted to see him there. And then her campaign put out a newspaper ad full of women's names who they claimed were victims of sexual assault or abuse without their permission to do so. Heidi Heitkamp has had to spend the closing days of her campaign apologizing for that action. This race was always a bit of a long shot for Democrats, but in the final stretch here, it really looks like it is beyond their reach, which means Democrats, if they lose North Dakota, are really going to have to sweep the rest of the board.